Hey everyone, welcome to another edition of CoverRight's Medicare Monday. I'm your host, Joseph Katz, here again with CoverRight CEO, Richard Chan. Richard, surprise me today. What's going on?
I've been doing some homework on enrollment periods based on our last two videos.
That's true. So welcome back to our third in this series of enrollment periods. The last two videos, we covered initial enrollment, general enrollment, annual enrollment, and open enrollment, what they are, when they are, who they're for. So I encourage everyone to visit and watch those videos. Today, we're going to cover the final enrollment period, and it's called the special enrollment period. So Richard, please tell us why this is special, how it differs from all the others, and how it works. And we can dig in from there.
Yeah, for sure. So like we say at the beginning of each of these enrollment videos, in Medicare, you can't just switch whenever you want. And there are certain periods where the government determines that you are allowed to switch. And so in the video a couple of weeks ago, we spoke about initial enrollment period in general. That's the first time you can sign up for Medicare if you didn't do it when you turn 65, or if you didn't do it and you missed it. The second period we spoke about was like, when can you switch generally across plans? That was the annual enrollment period, the Medicare Advantage open enrollment period. Like, when can you switch between plans, move out of plans? The special enrollment period, it's called the special enrollment period because there are various situations where you don't fit within those two buckets. It's not the first time you're trying to get Medicare. It's not just trying to switch plans. And one of the most popular special enrollment periods really is for people who have kept working after they turn 65 and are now retiring. So under Medicare rules, you can defer Medicare if you have creditable coverage from your employer. There's different rules around that. We can talk about that in another video, but it allows you to defer Medicare. And if you do, you basically have to you get an opportunity to sign up for Medicare when you retire. That's called a special enrollment period. It's a general name given to special periods that are outside those key windows we've spoken about in the last two videos that enable you to enroll.
Just a quick clarification point there. So I deferred Medicare. I am not yet enrolled in A or B, or do I have to have been enrolled?
For most people, you don't have to have been enrolled in A or B. Most people will probably get A when they turn 65. And the reason for that is
it's free.
If you've paid your Medicare taxes, it's free. So it's good supplemental coverage, but you don't have to have done that. And so when you leave employer coverage, though, you have the opportunity to get both, or just B if you already have the A.
Yeah. And how does that work in terms of timing?
Yeah. So it's interesting because when you leave work, there's actually two parallel timelines that operate at the same time. The first is, when can you sign up to original Medicare Part B, which is just your default medical coverage. You actually have an 8-month period after you lose work coverage to sign up to that Part B without getting assessed any penalties. That's a long period of time. We typically would not recommend you wait that long. We would say you should have it the first day of the month after you finish work and when your work insurance ends.
You don't want to have a gap.
Yeah, you don't want to have a gap. But more importantly, the second parallel timeline that runs is for anyone who's looking for a Medicare Advantage or prescription drug plan. You actually only have 60 days or 2 months to get into that plan. So the limiting timeline really is 2 months rather than 8 months. And so our advice to everyone is get it before you even retire. But if not, at worst case scenario, don't leave it past 2 months after you finish work, because after that, your options start to narrow in terms of what you can enroll in.
So I have a couple of questions based on that. You're required to have a prescription drug plan, regardless of whether you're on Advantage or original supplement. So what happens if you go with the original Medicare, but you've passed your 60 days?
Then you basically will have to wait for the next enrollment period. Yeah, to
annual enrollment.
Annual enrollment period to enroll in a drug plan. And so you would be assessed penalties for the months that you didn't have a creditable drug plan.
And you potentially would be paying a lot more for your prescriptions.
Yes, during that period. Exactly.
Okay. So that was one situation. You're switching jobs. You said there was another scenario.
Yeah, there are there's a really long list of other scenarios, but the most common ones that we see that trigger a special enrollment would be someone who's moving residences. So that could be within a state, or actually more commonly interstate. So you're moving from, the north down to Florida or somewhere. For that, you typically have a 3-month period that begins the month before you move and continues for 2 full months after you move. So basically, you have a period during that time, if you've switched, to tell your current insurance company that you're leaving their area of coverage, and then go enroll in a new plan to start in your new area of residence. And so that's one common one that we see a lot. Typically, we'll basically recommend you let us know probably a month before you're moving, so we can start getting the plans in place for you. The second one the third one that's very common after leaving your employer and moving is people who are eligible for Medicaid or extra help. So if you have Medicaid, which is low income assistance from the state, you actually have a special enrollment period once every quarter.
Wow.
During the first 3 quarters of the year. And what that allows you to do is, if you're unhappy with your plan, you can switch your plan once a quarter. You get to make one election each quarter. Now, obviously, we don't recommend people doing that. You should get to the right plan.
Right.
But, for whatever reason, because you might have a special condition or chronic condition, and it needs, some type of medication that just isn't covered well under your current plan, we can help you move out of that.
And when do these plans start? I know initial enrollment is variable based on when you sign up. Open enrollment is, a few months later. So how does it work with a special enrollment?
Yeah, typically it will start the first of the month after you apply. So if you applied, for example, in May, then it will start June 1st. The only qualification for that is if you're leaving work and you don't have your Part B yet, any Medicare Advantage or plan cannot start earlier than when your Part B starts. So you need to have your Part B in place before that Medicare Advantage plan can kick in.
So if I understand correctly, if you're qualified under a special enrollment period, you definitely want to get your A and B in place. You definitely want to make sure you understand, within the first month and a half to 2 months, which direction you want to go to avoid penalties and problems. And if you're moving, you definitely want to make sure you're checking your drug coverage, because that may change based on where you're going. Am I gathering the basics?
Yeah. I mean, if you're leaving work, ideally, even before you retire, we would help you organize all that so that it starts the first month after you retire. And then, if you're moving, you definitely, if you're in a Medicare Advantage plan or prescription drug plan, you'll definitely need to switch plans. And so what you should do is reach out to us, and we will help compare the new plans in your new area, including your drugs. And so, that's right. Basically, those are the two key sort of timelines that you should follow.
Well, it's an interesting topic, and obviously we just scratched the surface, because you said there's a long list of special cases. So we're not going to go through every case, but if someone feels that they do qualify for a special enrollment period, feel free to reach out to hello@coverright.com, and one of our licensed experts will help you through that. If you want to learn more about Medicare, check out learning.coverright.com, and team's here to help. Richard, thanks for your time. Appreciate everyone tuning in today, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks, Joseph.